Hello.
Oh, look at that. You see. This is a miracle.
What's today?
It's Thursday. Woo! Don't we love it being Thursday?
We do.
Now, this week's panel, I should say, from the producer's booth, is Luke with the purple hair today and not hungover.
For once in my life.
Slightly improved product.
Improved product.
Ross ironed a first shirt this morning, found it had a stain on it, ironed a second shirt, and then went out to do a delivery and got soaking wet, so that's why he's wearing a polar fleece. And here is Eva, who's managing as normal to be properly dressed and not hungover.
As per.
As per.
Beautiful.
So, employee of the week.
Indeed.
We have Christine. She's
Christine.
lovely. Woo.
Hello, Christine.
We've got Josh and we've got Lisa. Woo.
Beautiful.
Hi, guys.
That's good.
Fantastic.
Hi, guys.
Hello, hello.
Who else we got?
Where'd you get that sage from, Luke? It's enormous. I could have brought sage from home.
Yeah, do you like...
Funny conversation. So we have garnishes ready for gin and tonic, and we have this conversation in advance so that we can put it on the event. And Ross has lemon and lime at home, and I have orange and sage at home. And we both agreed that we'd bring those in. And this morning we both looked at each other and realised that we
Not
didn't
even
do
this
that.
morning at like 3 o'clock, you're like, oh, some garnishes.
Should probably need some garnishes. So
And it's like, oh,
I'm glad we gave you
the
all
lemon,
four.
the lemon, the lime, and the sage is on the bench at home where I left it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good place.
So here we are.
So maybe what we need to do is program in for somebody who's one of the good Facebook people to remind us on the Wednesday night.
I'm gonna set alarms in my phone like I was 16.
on Wednesday night. They need to remind me, when I was...
I'm gonna set alarms on my phone when I leave the house.
Oh, Lisa Reed says he still looks handsome. Which one? Jeff Morgan. Hello, Jeff Morgan.
Beautiful.
From down on the
So
surf
this
coast.
This week we're doing Old Tom style gin, which I'm incredibly excited about. And part of the reason I'm intentionally not hungover today is so that we can really enjoy this because I'm so into this.
So why old gin? What does that mean?
Oh, by Old Tom Gin.
Why? That's what I mean.
Old Tom Gin.
Has it got a dead cat in it?
Yeah, it's got a dead cat in it. Well, Old Tom Gin is an old style gin. It was very popular in the UK in the 18th century. It was the precursor to London Dry Gin. It was sometimes called the missing link. It was the gin between your neighbour and London Dry. So there was no London Dry when Old Tom was about in the 18th century. London Dry came after that, but somewhere along the line it fell out of favour and London Dry took over its place, really. One of the main features of Old Tom Gin is it's not a dry gin, it's slightly sweeter. So I suspect it's a bit like the Moscato in the gin world, where it was like everyone went, oh, this is nice, and then it got sweeter and sweeter and sweeter and then got lost. So it sort of fell out of favour in the 19th century and sort of disappeared pretty much. But one of the reasons we're going to start with the Haymans.
Ross is hard to hear, says Carmen.
Oh, sorry, Carmen. Why we start with Haymans is they really resurrected Old Tom Gin. Back when they were doing some renovations about 15, 20 years ago-ish, someone found all the old books and they were going through them for all the historical relevance, and part of it was the original recipe for their Old Tom Gin, so they dusted off as a bit of a joke and made some. And then we went, oh, this is really interesting, this is really good, and then sort of kind of went on from then. So anybody who had London Dry Gin then had to go out and make an Old Tom Gin. So, but that kind of started the revolution back about 15, 20 years ago.
And the interesting thing about Old Tom Gin, it wasn't always called Old Tom because it was the traditional style of gin made at the time, and London Dry hadn't quite come about just yet. But when London Dry came into fashion, they started calling the old gin Old Tom. And the reason it got that name is because of a lot of the old pubs and bars and speakeasies, traditionally in England, had a picture of a black cat above the door, which is referred to as the Old Tom, as in the Old Tom cat. Because most bars and pubs had a cat.
To keep the mice down.
Yeah, so when they started making London Dry, which was a more boutique, fancy dry gin, they referred to this as like the pub gin. This was like the big, spicy, flavourful, old school, gutsy gin that you drink down the pub. But these days it's a little bit different, it's a little bit more refined, but still a lot more flavourful. a little bit spicier.
Ooh. So we're trying the Haymans first up, are we?
Yep.
Indeed.
So while we're smelling, we've got people in down the
Elwood?
circus. Elwood, Chile. Guillermo's in
got-
Chile.
Lisa said she likes your polar fleece, Ross.
Woohoo. I got rained on, so had to change the shirt.
It's rare to see Russ out of his burgundy iron shirt, but
Yeah.
Mm.
Megan loves well, she said gin and history. Loving it.
Beautiful.
Gin, Megan, meanwhile, has gone into lockdown because she had a sore throat and the doctor wouldn't test her, told her to take a test, go home, he wouldn't see her. So she's at home in lockdown, poor Megan.
The other thing about Old Tom gin, it was around about that time where gin was more than the craze, it was considered a bit of a scourge because it was drank too widely. And it brought in two things. One was licensing, because premises then had to be licensed.
indeed.
So what, to try and control everyone's Old Tom drinking habits was to license premises. And the other thing was to tax the alcohol. So before Old Tom gin, there was no liquor licenses in the British Empire, as there was no taxation on alcohol.
Them were the days.
Yeah. And guess what? They all figured it was such a good idea. We still do it here today. Liquor licensing and taxing alcohol. We tax alcohol way over the top. It's a huge investment.
Anyway,
Let's
probably
not
a
let's
rant
not
for another
start that
time.
rant.
Oh, it's a tax man.
Carmen, we've started with the Haymans.
Haymans, yeah. Tash from Fossey says, well, hello from Juru, and we've got cheers from Preston from Hollywood.
Now, the one thing I really like about Old Tom is a lot of people say that gin is too harsh or astringent to drink by itself. But because it's so flavourful but slightly sweeter, it can be drunk just with ice, if you're brave.
Alrighty.
I'm brave. I like that. I like that a lot.
What are we getting on the nose
Oh, sorry, we just all
before
drank
we
it.
drink it?
Oh, sorry.
It's Thursday.
Thirsty Thursday.
Thirsty Thursday.
I'm getting like oranges and
Yep.
almost clementine, sort of tangerine sort of smells.
How do you know what a clementine smells like?
It smells like a clementine.
I don't know, when people say it smells like clementine, you go, that's
Oh,
what
that's-
that smells like.
It's like a different. It's not quite orange. It's better than
Oh,
if I
wait.
said pomelo.
Uses.
But I know what a pomelo is. I've never seen a. I know what a clementine is, but I've never smelt one. I've smelt a pomelo.
It's also got quite a spicy finish when you smell it.
There's a bit of
It's definitely that almost cinnamony cassia bark sort of smell.
nearly a coriander, not coriander seed,
Yeah, you-
cumin seed sort of smell.
It's got coriander in there.
It's got that coriander seed smell, not the.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
almost.
Christine said, well, she got floral notes.
There is a subtle hint of anise,
Yeah.
which might be star anise or, like, yeah, some kind of. There are lots of different types of anise, but
Yeah.
whether it be aniseed or star anise or even.
So tonic, how much tonic do you think?
I'm still deciding what tonic I want with this. I'm just going to go a splash of the Mediterranean and see how I go.
Okay.
Now, I will say I'm not the best at pairing tonics with my gins because I often just don't use tonic.
You could use a drop of water.
Yeah, that's the other suggestion is that if it is a bit too strong in
using-
terms of alcohol, you can just add a dash of water.
Breezy said the mouthfeel is interesting. It reminds me of liquid Panadol as a kid.
No.
The mouthfeel, yeah.
That's really that's very refreshing with a splash of Mediterranean tonic in there. Just like a couple of drops actually. And it brings out some floral notes as
Can I
well.
have the Mediterranean, please?
And Christine got orange blossom.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I
So
get
now,
that.
now we're thinking, what sort of garnish do you think, Luke?
I'm just gonna stick with orange for this, to be honest.
Yeah.
Going orange?
What are people at home going to garnish theirs with? Bit of orange.
Yeah, let us
What are you
know.
going to do, Ross?
I'm going to wait until the people with the orange have gone, oh, I like the orange, or oh, I don't like the orange.
That's the other thing is
Ah.
don't follow along too blindly because we have been known to make mistakes.
Oh. alert.
Spoiler alert. It's a bit difficult to taste past the orange because the orange slices are so enormous.
Mm.
You can see Vivian trying to push hers in, and
Have
it's
we
sort of
got
just
a-
like this chunk.
I've got a knife for chopping it. And
No, I've squished it in.
I'm really liking this with orange.
Kylie's got orange peel. So yeah.
Yeah.
I quite like I like the fleshy bit of the orange with it though, to be
The
honest.
juiciness of it.
Yeah.
how am I gonna need to?
You can bite it.
You could just
Or
Deal
just
with
do
it.
that. Deal with it.
get over yourself. How about that? Sorry.
Now what about with the orange? How does it taste with the lemon?
Well, that moment's not good. No.
Heard it here first,
The
folks.
lemon's not good?
Yeah, I buggered that up.
My
Christine
problem-
says she's already drunk the orange.
My issue is a lot of gins can take orange and lime. If it's a lemon gin, it's really great with lemon. If it's not a lemon gin,
It's awful.
it becomes
Soap.
citrus scented furniture cleaner.
Nice.
Mouthwash.
That's what I think.
It's not doing that. It's just not highlighting the flavours. It's just
Category.
no, it's just neutral. It's just
Lisa, she's got limes. Neighbours left some out on their front wall. That's very nice. of
Mm.
her. Rosie, she's Mediterranean, really brings out the orange in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Gabrielle says, love this orange.
The Mediterranean tonic tends to go really well with orange. Also brings out things like basil and some really green herbal notes, as well as a little bit of more floral notes as well.
Beautiful.
so. When do you think we're going to be using?
Not yet, I
Not
don't
yet.
think.
Where would you guys want to be drinking this? What would you say? When? Where?
How?
Pairing it with something?
Ooh.
I like it with ice.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
it by itself.
I like it like with
with
ice.
another one.
Yeah.
As per. Uh-huh.
Sort of like with ice, it's just like its own little martini thing going on. I think.
Mm.
And where would you want to be drinking this?
Oh, I don't know.
Between-
Warm sunny afternoon somewhere.
Yeah.
Bahamas maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know.
But again, I think this
Wherever,
isn't
whenever.
necessarily really a summery gin, Old Tom, compared to the London Dry, which I find
London Dry is really clean and crisp, and it's
this
really
is a
refreshing.
bit, this is
on
a
hot
bit
day.
more of a
It's got more guts.
complex thing.
The other thing I'll say is this Haymans Old Tom is my absolute favourite cocktail gin, because a lot of gins in a cocktail get too acidic and can break apart other flavours, whereas something with a bit more spice and a little bit more sugar can give you a nice round gutsy cocktail. So
Yeah.
Alaskans, martinis, Negronis, all sorts of things.
Nice. Beautiful. Well, should we move on to Anther?
I think we shall.
Anther. Now, can you tell me about making this collaboration with Anther? What did you do? When did you do it?
Well, it started out, we had a Sullivan's Cove whiskey barrel that was empty. We're trying to work out what to put in it. And Derv, one of the distillers at Anther, was here one day and we're having this discussion, and she said, I'll make a gin that will go in that. And we said, oh, that's fine. And 3 days later she turned up with a small bottle of experimental gin and said, I reckon this would go well in the barrel. And we all smelled and tasted it, ooh, ooh, And then we organised with the team to go down to the Anther distillery the next weekend, and we all helped
With
make the gin.
with Jen and Christina were there, so there was Jen and Ross and myself and Jen and Christina, and it was raining more than it rained today. It was hammering down, and we spent all day inside drinking gin and watching it rain.
Because we were allowed to have a few people there to make the gin, and some of our staff weren't available, including myself. We invited some of our best friends and customers to be a part of it, which I think is exciting.
It was great fun.
Gabrielle from Anther sends their love.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Now, one of the exciting things about it, apart from having a completely different mix to the normal Anther gin, is one of the things that Derv put in was honey from a rooftop hive in Fitzroy. So it's all very trendy. And there was, and also some cream from
Half a litre of
cream.
went in.
Now, the other thing is that cream does sound weird, but cream more than anything is about texture.
The flavour of the cream doesn't come through the still, but the texture does. So it gives you lots of texture and a bit of colour.
Well, it's a bit like those fat conversations we were having
Oh, the fat
around
The triple six
vodka.
butter.
Yeah, is that the cream all distills away,
And you get left with just a residue of.
but you
salt
just get that
bites.
residue of really good tasting.
And you'll probably notice
It goes cloudy.
this
It
is
louches.
slightly cloudy, what we refer to as a louche, which is usually the essential oils from the distillates separating from the water, as well as sometimes in certain liqueurs and absinthe, also being helped along by sugar. But
So that shows you the essential oils there, so it hasn't been filtered in any way, it's just that's as it is. So it means all the essential oils from all the good things we put in came through the still and the still have been filtered out.
now I've got to say, this is a completely different smelling gin.
Yeah, Rose
Look.
is saying the smell is a lot heavier than the Haymans. And Jen's got the best mouthfeel for this
It's
one.
really spicy. It contained these amazing spices I'd never seen before, called, what are those African ones? What were they called? Heaven's
Oh, I reckon, yeah.
Beads of Heaven, or
Yeah.
if Christina or Jen can remember what they were called, that would be great.
There is also some anise myrtle in here, so unlike the traditional Haymans, we are getting some more Australian botanicals, which is a really
Oh,
interesting
yeah.
combination in an old English style gin to have sort of eucalypt notes.
I must say I do like this.
Yeah.
Ross's tasting notes,
As you said
he
that,
likes it.
as you said that, Christine said, "I swear I'm not biased, but
Grains
this is
of
such a good gin."
Thank you, Gabrielle. Grains of Paradise, quite right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if there's anybody out there who says that they're scared of Old Toms because of the sugar, or maybe past experience, I think this is a really good gin because it's
Not sweet.
not too sweet. It's completely different.
Yeah.
It's very complex.
Yeah, incredibly complex.
Yeah, we've got Rosie saying, "Ooh,
There's a nice
Just lost
woodiness
one.
on the nose, which is.
lots of herb and spice.
Ooh.
Tastes like it would be good with cucumber,
Yes.
Or basil,
basil."
which is, but maybe that's just me. There's a bit of a woodiness on the nose, which might be from the pepperberry.
Yeah.
Cucumber and
Yeah.
basil, two more garnishes that we've got at home and didn't bring.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it in my diary from now on for Wednesday.
Tasting.
Mm.
Oh, very different mouthfeel.
Yeah, completely.
But can you see where that
different mouthfeel.
that sort of fat gives it that roundness?
It's really interesting. It doesn't come through on the nose so much, but the right at the front palate, there's this beautiful coriander, like fresh
Yeah.
green coriander sort of flavour, which is
Great palate cleanser. Like it's
really,
really
really bright actually, and it finishes with that really subtle eucalypt flavour.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
so which tonic do we think?
Well, Gentry's getting strawberry gum.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Lisa's
Yes.
got basil.
Yeah, the basil is good. Christine says, "Love the spiciness from the pepperberry." And Josh is trying it with rosemary to go with the honey.
Rosemary's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I dare say this could even take time, which I love with gin.
But I don't think
Yeah,
not enough
I
time.
was
It's
like,
going to
what?
drink it.
Mm.
Yeah. So what do we go to? Which tonic?
I don't know.
What are you feeling? I'm gonna go with the Mediterranean.
I'm not entirely sure it's a tonic gin.
I'm gonna swap and go to the Indian. I just don't know that it needs more herbal flavour.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's the other thing. Sometimes people try and match the gin and tonics as in, this is a dry gin, I need a dry tonic. Sometimes you actually need not to add the same thing on
I
top,
have that dry.
A bit of counterpoint.
and you need to just add.
No, the dry. The one.
The other one.
Lisa said she added soda and it made the taste even fuller. So maybe it is something you just add water to.
Yeah,
Oh. Maybe I'll do that.
Maybe maybe we'll try.
yeah. We do. That's the other thing. Sometimes it can be hard with tonic waters to differentiate.
Yeah, Gabrielle's suggesting a light tonic with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or soda.
Or soda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best tonic is no tonic, to be honest.
Garnish.
Yeah. Garnish, what are we feeling?
Lemon, lime, orange, or
Oh,
soda.
actually, water just gives it a bit more.
Whoa, the Indian tonic gives it a whole kick. Like
Kick.
that's.
What do you
Okay.
like?
I'm gonna go lime.
Yeah, I was thinking lime after that.
Oh, Josh has got the fever tree elderflower is working. I thought it'd be too sweet, but it's good.
Woohoo! Go Josh.
There you go.
And you don't need to add like a normal shot to a glass of tonic water. If you're, sipping it slowly,
Yeah.
what's the point in, I could just drink tonic water if I wanted to taste tonic water.
That's true. Now you guys have added lime. I'm going to go with some lime too.
The water did actually, I've never done that before, added water to tonic, and to gin, and it really opened it up actually. It gave you sort of, it made the flavour spread a bit more.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that alcohol has
Lime's good. I reckon orange would work with that as well.
all the different esters and flavours grip onto the alcohol. So when you smell it, you smell the flavours that evaporate with alcohol. So when you add water and you bring it down below evaporation point, you bring that evaporation point down by watering it down, you'll get different smells. So like, depending on
Okay. Yeah.
the consistency of each of the sort of fragrances in there.
Where would you guys like to be drinking this? During some
Oh, that's like a rooftop in the like cold spring, last sun of the afternoon sort of.
the rooftop with the honey hive?
Yeah, maybe.
Where it came
When
from.
it's just like
just me and the bees.
like early spring or late autumn when it's like the last bit of sun and you want to just sit down and enjoy the sun before it gets dark and you put a big coat on.
Which at the moment is about 3:30. We tried to have a pomegranate martini in the sun at last of the sun at 4 o'clock on Sunday. No go. Half an hour too
Not
late.
happening.
Speaking of pomegranate martinis, we are going to start putting some of the staff's cocktails on the Instagram story. So just for everyone at home,
Yeah.
just want to let you guys know that.
When we get the pomegranate martini right.
Oh, I think I've cracked.
More practicing this weekend, I
That's
think.
Beautiful. Yeah, Rosie says the Indian really intensified the flavours. Definitely, for sure.
I actually really like that with the Indian.
Yeah.
I like it just with water.
Beautiful. Well, should we go on to settlers?
Yum, yum, yum. Let's talk about settlers for a bit because
We could also talk about this for a bit longer because the other half of the batch of this went in a barrel and then was barrel aged for some time, and then it went to the Australian Distilled Spirits Awards and won a trophy. Won a gold medal for the best
micro.
aged gin, and then won a trophy for the best micro distillery.
Yeah.
So that was like, we've got like, hey guys, we went to have some fun making some gin with Derv, and next thing you know we're winning a trophy. So I'm like,
It's very
how
so
good is
yeah,
that?
if you come into Wigs, you'll probably see these two. We have the Old Tom, which we're tasting right now. We also have the barrel aged Old Tom.
Well, there's hardly any of that left.
There's not very much of
And
that left.
getting quick because there is very little of it.
In fact, I think we've told people there isn't any.
Yeah. Now,
Well, that's
if
right.
there is huge demand for this, like we'll have to talk to Derv and see if we can't.
Do it again.
Derv's got the barrel. I gave the barrel to Derv, so you better look after this for me.
Good.
Good.
So now we just got to talk her into making some more Old Tom to put in the barrel. But I reckon there must be about time, and given we've got certain people on board, I think Anther must be about time they were commissioning their new distillery down outside Geelong, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a bit exciting as well. We might have to go down there and check it out.
Indeed. Once we can have
10 people there.
a little bit more social interaction, I think they probably will be due a visit from the Wig staff.
Probably.
Go and pester them with their brand new distillery down in Geelong. So, little road trip maybe.
Yeah, Jen said that she's saving her bottle of barrel aged.
Smart move, Jen.
Yeah.
Smart move. You're onto
Yeah.
something good there. The other thing is that what's quite interesting, particularly in this Old Tom, is that it actually incorporates lots of different. We were talking about the cream in terms of textural elements, and this gin includes quite a few of those. Not just the honey, but also macadamia, which is known to be quite oily, quite rich. So.
Well, Gabriella's just replied saying, "Yay, it's almost ready. You'll be first in."
Oh,
Beautiful.
Woo.
Glad to hear
And
it.
Jenna said, "Road trip."
Yeah.
you better get well, Jen.
We'll have to hire a little Wigs tour bus, maybe.
Oh,
gone
Wigs
with-
on wheels.
Yeah, wigs on wheels.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, lovely.
So yeah, settlers. Where's settlers?
McLaren Vale,
Where is McLaren Vale?
South Australia.
Excuse me.
I'm not from the mainland. I don't know.
She's
these
from the little
things.
island.
She's a southerner.
I was sorry.
Well, Settlers, the main man behind Settlers Gin is Roland Short.
Roland. Our man Roland.
Yeah, and Roland, still does own Maximus Wines in McLaren Vale, but he's sort of converted the winery into distillery. He hasn't made wine for the last 2 vintages. He has all the winemaking equipment and fermentation tanks, etc., etc., etc. So he said to me one day, well, if you really want to use it, Ross, there's a whole winery there. But
He did something quite similar to Ross and just discovered that there was something that was more enjoyable. That's why you no longer work in our team.
so Roland was a winemaker, and before that he was in the merchant navy. So he's a bit of a pirate now, Roland.
Arr.
So yeah, he's
Also a bit of a mad scientist when it comes to the distilled.
Did pirates drink gin as well as rum, or just?
No, they were the good old what is it called? I've completely forgotten. Fortifieds.
gunpowder strength.
Pirates? Oh, that's Vikings. My bad.
Anyway, we digress. The other really
I had
amazing
no
thing
idea what you were
about
talking about.
Settlers is being from the McLaren Vale and being a major wine region of Australia. The amazing thing about Settlers is that their spirit comes from a pure grape spirit,
Yeah.
which is well understood to be favoured for gins of
Well, as Roland
texture.
said, I've got all this wine I don't know what to do with, so I'll just turn it into.
Oh, I'm sure there's a little bit more science that goes into it than that, but grape spirit makes a really brilliant textural gin, and lots of really high quality
This one
gins
Lucius
use
too.
a grape
This
spirit,
one's really good.
and this is really high in essential oil.
Oh yeah, look at that go.
Ooh.
Is Lucy an adjective? I know.
Um,
Eva
It
was
is
about.
now.
Eva was about to say Lucy.
And unlike the other gins in front of us, Settlers is
Lucy Goosey.
Settlers is very heavy on Australian botanicals. Lots of strawberry gum, myrtles,
Yeah, absolutely. You can
Oh,
smell
yeah.
lemon myrtle.
lemon myrtle particularly.
It just
They
leaks
don't
out of you.
shy away
Very
from
them.
the Australiana.
Yeah, Rosie's getting mint. Jen's got lovely floral notes.
It's almost like that native mint sort of smell.
It is that native mint smell.
Mike Haymans is from the UK. It's in London, I believe.
Yep,
Yes.
that's
Yep.
it.
Beautiful.
I can always tell the settlers by the things like the
Oh,
lemon scented
like that.
gum and stuff.
Yeah.
that's really nice.
And what a lot of people don't realise is
Pennyroyal.
there's lots of different flavour types of gums, whether that be lemon gum, strawberry gum, and things like that, as well as different types of myrtle, which are Australian natives that give out things like pepper, anise, lemon, saltbush, all sorts of things like that. So
That's
there is
delicious
ways
smelling.
to have flavours similar to traditional European flavours, like lemon and spice, but using Australian botanicals.
Mm. Yeah. People reckon it's quite minty. I get that.
Yeah.
There's a thing, not a native mint, but it's related to native mint called pennyroyal.
Penny royal.
Mm. There's a little tiny white flower. That smells a bit like that.
Christine says like cool tiger balm. It kind of reminds me of like when you brush your teeth and have a bit of citrus. Kind of like that, but in a good way.
Lemon balm.
Lemon balm.
Now, if you know lemon balm, it's
Yeah.
fairly sure an Australian. Might be an Australian native. I might be
No,
wrong.
it's not. It's,
It's not?
it's a relative of mint,
Mint. Well, I thought so.
part of the mint family.
It
That's a mentha.
it looks a bit like a cross between
Mint and something else.
mint and like nettle almost.
We've
Quite-
actually got a mouthwash that tastes
quite
like that.
spiky looking, but really interesting
nice.
lemony minty flavour, which is actually quite. It's almost that.
Now
sort of
that's a
smell.
palate cleanser.
Mm.
Yeah, everybody's saying it's like lemony, minty, Australian mint. Very like.
The other thing is
bushlandish.
we've had to do this one last because it's such strong flavours it would overpower the other two.
Yeah, Marcus even said pine.
Um,
You get a bit of pine, yeah.
It is a bit.
And this might come into play as we continue doing gin tastings, but we will try and endeavour to not put heavy eucalypt flavours at the start of the night, just because they can really stick on the palate, and would overpower different honey and macadamia nuts and such.
Now,
The other thing is,
which tonic is it?
Settlers actually recommends on their bottling, they do tell you what they use for garnishing, which I think is really interesting.
Oh, what
What
do
do
they
they
say?
say?
And they are the reason that we have this sage here today.
Ah.
So
But what are you tasting before you garnish, I
I
suppose?
got distracted.
Yeah, I taste that sort of lemon balm, mint.
I'm still getting cassia bark, which is quite popular in gin, and it's related to cinnamon. There's still some
Cinnamon.
pepperberry sort of notes to it. Lemon myrtle. I think there's also some anise myrtle and some strawberry gum in here as well.
Mediterranean or plain, Luke?
What does Settlers say on the back?
Settlers says that it is naturally sweetened using licorice root. So that's probably the
That's the anaesthetic
notes
flavour,
I'm
yeah.
getting. As well as star anise, cinnamon, nutmeg and clove, and native pepper. And they say to garnish with lime and sage.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Indian.
And this is really interesting. We talk about sweet gins. Licorice root itself is, by density, 5 times sweeter than sugar,
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
which is
I'm gonna
why
have
it
a
was
dash of
originally
Indian.
made
I'm going to have a dash of Indian and some lime and sage.
to create molasses that was then turned into licorice sweets, because it would be sickeningly sweet. But it means that when you use it in the right ways, you can add sweetness without actually adding any processed sugars.
Oh, that's delicious with the Indian. I really like that.
Really
Going
good with
with-
Indian.
Lime and sage. Do you want
Yeah,
another?
so Lisa said gin mouthwash. Fancy.
Yeah.
But she was like, who would have thought it in a good way?
But-
Carly said amazing, so different. Penny Royal and anise. We've got Jen, love the minty flavour on the back of the nose after.
Can I have lime and sage, please?
Beautiful.
So you're actually following the instructions of what it says on the bottle. That's just frightening.
I'm also gonna.
Don't get used to it. This doesn't normally
I'm
happen.
also going to say something that's completely off topic, but a lot of the time I've seen people, when doing tastings and such, grab the most amazingly, brilliantly green limes. The real plot twist is they look good, but the more yellow your lime is, the riper it is.
Yeah.
So if you can't tell the difference between your lemon and your lime, it means your lime's pretty ripe.
Yeah.
Now with sage, when you put it in a drink, do you have to do
Crush
anything?
it?
Do you crush it? Do you do a clap? Do you do that kind
I'm not going to, but only because I don't want to overpower this.
Okay. I do it.
And swirling can help too.
Ooh, a little clap.
A claplet.
I love herbs as garnish in gin.
Yeah, I agree.
I get a bit.
Except when it gets stuck in your teeth.
I think sometimes we've
You're
reached
classic.
such
Sorry,
saturation point,
classic.
saturation point in terms of putting, just constantly relying on citrus in gin. And I think particularly a lot
Christine
of
says this is
Australian
truly delicious. I forgot how much I love sage.
Yeah.
gin. Yeah.
I agree. It is the absolute one of my favourite herbs.
The sage in that just calms that eucalypty kind of lemony
It softens it.
mouthwashy thing out altogether. That's amazing.
It does. You still get the lemon, but without it tasting. I mean it in a nice
Mouthwash.
way. We've actually got a mouthwash that I said to Ross, I always feel bad like washing my mouth in the morning because it's like it tastes like a cocktail, and that's what I meant. But I think this is the sage completely calms down that slightly
Too eucalypty.
eucalypty thing.
Mm.
We're gonna have to grow some pennyroyal. Is anybody growing pennyroyal? Can anybody give us a cutting?
You just have to remember to bring it in then.
Yeah.
No.
But
Don't
sometimes,
mess with tradition, girl. Just leave it at home.
sometimes there's like some things that you can't buy that were great for garnish.
Mm.
Oh.
So things like pennyroyal, lemon balm, you know, river mint, you know. So if you've got cuttings, let us know. We're always happy to take some
Actually, I
cuttings
think
and
in
plant them.
gin season, in spring and summer, we should just bring some garnishes in and have them in here.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Give them away because we've always got masses of
Yeah, maybe we'll
mint and
maybe
sage.
we'll have a look at, you know, getting some little potted seedlings or cuttings or
Yeah.
Now, because we've done a different tasting of the G&T and now we've done this one, what would be sort of some standout notes compared to, I guess, London Dry that Old Tom is different?
Texture.
Texture?
Yeah.
If you really like whiskey or rum to drink straight, it's usually because darker spirits have a lot of texture. They have a lot of mouthfeel. Gin particularly sometimes is very light, crisp, thin. Old Tom's the opposite. It has lots of rich, oily, fatty, gutsy, complex texture. If you enjoy a textural spirit,
Cream and honey.
cream, honeys, complex texture, love it. So that's, I think, something to look for.
It's a bit like the difference between the flavoured vodkas and plain vodka, I think. You know, I mean, it's got a lot more going on.
I think if you wanted something real clean and refreshing, this is probably not what you've got. But, you know. I think there's the other thing is this is quite versatile. Like, London Dry is really great for warm weather.
Yeah.
It sometimes doesn't stand up when it's cold, colder weather. Something like this, a lot more guts.
You can have that with just ice in front of the fire, and that's quite a warmy thing.
You don't need tonic water.
Yeah.
You know. So,
Alright.
yeah.
Well, Jen said, look, you grew up with your parents' herb garden and cocktail table. Lucky.
How did that happen?
And this is also, it said she has some pennyroyal.
Ah.
Jen said pennyroyal is dangerous for pregnant people. Be careful. But then
Lucky
Christine
me.
said, if you're drinking gin while pregnant, I think it's a caution to be thrown in the bush. That's fair enough.
Yes.
Look, that's fair.
No, beautiful. Would you have any last comments about, I guess, the three, what would be three standout points for each of these gins? If a customer was like, well, which one?
Well, let's work backwards from the end.
Yeah.
Go backwards, I think.
The Settlers.
Yeah.
This is an amazing sort of bird's eye view of Australian botanicals. A lot of craft gin uses different Australian botanicals in little bits and bobs. If you want to really understand what Australian botanicals taste like, that's where you go.
And if you don't like them, you don't like Australian
If you-
botanicals.
Yeah, if you don't like
That's
this,
a good call, actually. That's a really
just
good way of
quit
putting it.
on Australian gums and myrtles.
Yeah.
Just give up at that point. If you want to understand what a gin is like that is not always in requirement of tonic and can be drinking straight, this Anther Old Tom will explain that to you, I think. I think that's something really...
I like the fact that it's got macadamia, it's got honey, it's got
Yeah.
huge, massive, really interesting stuff in there.
It's really a crafted
Right.
gin.
Big, look, 10 points to Derv on her ability and her scope, and
Particularly because once it was aged, it was amazing.
She's an incredibly intelligent woman
so
and really knows her craft.
been impressed by that.
And the Haymans?
And the Haymans, this really proves that all that is said about old, badly made stuff can be fixed. And
Well, by
not
finding-
everything that is said about something as their reputation is true. Old Tom Gin is not the nasty, ethanol, sweet thing that
It once
used to
was.
be. You know? This kind of proves history wrong. Which is
I think your point about making cocktails with that is a good one. I hadn't thought of that.
This is one of my favourite cocktail gins. It's bloody phenomenal.
What's so good in the Negroni?
Negroni is alright. I reckon this is really great in Alaskan with some chartreuse and some orange bitters. Because you don't add any sugar syrup to it. It can take lots of flavour, a little
And
bit
it's
more
already
sugar.
quite citrusy as well.
It's got its own citrus orange notes to it. Lovely.
Oh, quite right. Beautiful.
Okay.
Fantastic. Well, that was all fun.
Beautiful.
Gin, I guess. Beautiful. We can mention next week.
Yeah,
Next
so
week.
next week
Behind you, Luke.
Which is organised
we're
this
fully
week.
prepped.
Actually, while Luke's getting those out, we did say a couple of weeks ago that we were going to announce a prize each week for people on social media. And last week's prize went to Jen
Jen.
for her
Jen
amazing
Donaldson.
her amazing pictures of, was it the vodka? I can't remember what it was now.
She's done
Actually, for the
quite a
last
few,
3 or
I
4
think, yeah.
tastings, Jen has provided some amazing photographs.
So Jen
And
got
the
a prize
absolute
for that.
shame of Jen's social media photography is that actually it's just beaten us out of the park.
We're trying to keep up.
We just can't keep up with Jen.
So we will think about who should be the winner from this week, and we'll announce that next week.
Yeah.
Next
beautiful.
week we're doing coffee. Now I'm gonna be restrained and not say coffee liqueurs because we do actually have a coffee vodka.
Yes.
Yep.
Can't see, from the other angle. So we're looking at the 666 coffee vodka, the Mr. Black's coffee liqueur, which is a cold brew coffee
Made in Melbourne.
made in Melbourne.
Is
And
it Melbourne? I don't think it is.
it is in New South Wales.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the Melbourne part of New South Wales.
And ye old faithful, Patron Exo Cafe,
Yep.
which,
Agave.
contrary to popular belief, is actually A, a liqueur, B, made out of tequila.
There you
So,
go.
Oh,
if you're scared
agave.
of tequila or agave,
Come on down.
just don't drink it, drink this instead maybe. Come along next week, we'll see what happens.
Well, I think it was an interesting challenge though, because there's a lot of coffee liqueurs on the market. So the one everybody knows is Kahlua.
We decided not to taste Kahlua because we thought that would be redundant, actually.
Well, everyone's tasted Kahlua at some point, and not always in a good way.
No.
We'll talk about Kahlua.
We'll get into it
next
No,
next
I'm
week.
not going to bag Kahlua.
No,
Kahlua is
no.
like a
Anyway,
workhorse
Ross.
of the-
Well, quick question from Carmen. Do you know the story about the slot for a coin and then a tube for Old Tom Gin?
Yes.
Do you want to tell
Yes.
it?
Oh, okay. It's a bit of myth,
Before we
really,
move
but with the Old Tom Gin was when they were bringing in the licensing, and it was part about the Old Tom places that weren't necessarily licensed used to do it sort of on the sly. So what they would do is they'd have a slot for a coin, and they'd have the paw print of a black cat, and you put your money in the slot, and there was a tube where then they'd pour down your allocation of gin. So it was sort of a bit like it was prohibition without prohibition. It was just the unlicensed people way of dealing with things. So they couldn't be caught because they were on the other side of the wall.
And
or
they never
fence of the door.
advertised
see.
gin or alcohol. It was just a little coin slot with a paw print on it.
Yeah, that's it.
And that was part of what connected the picture of the black cat to
Old Tom.
gin.
Yeah. Well, Carmen said it was on Wikipedia. So.
There you go. I bet it was on Wikipedia.
And Jen has also asked, is the 666 fat wash?
Ah. I think we're
Home
talking about that
work.
next.
Well, exactly.
Well, no, I'm not going into that.
We'll check that
You'll
out
have to
next
tune
week.
in next week.
Yeah, beautiful.
Not getting spoilers, that's for sure.
And we'll also post our event for 2 weeks' time, tonight or tomorrow.
Which
Yeah.
is
As Sangiovese.
Yeah.
Sangiovese, yes.
Sangiovese. I
Um,
know my wife.
if you are outside of Melbourne, we do ask that you try and get to us as soon as possible if you want tasting stuff. And when we say outside of Melbourne, we do actually quite literally mean
If we have to post it.
if we have to post it.
Yeah.
We do try and endeavour as much as we can to drop things off to and from work, drive to your house, give it to couriers, support some local delivery people as much as we can. But if you are in sort of the outer suburbs, we do have to give it to Australia Post, and that can take a little while.
Yeah.
Well, yes, during this COVID virus thing is all the delivery people, courier companies, etc., are flat stick and they're running behind because they're just over
Yep.
subscribed.
anyway. Awesome. That's been
Cheers, lovely to see you people all.
Old Tom. Thanks for tuning
Beautiful.
in. Feel free to share. Get other people to come along, and we'll see you next week for coffee.
Stay safe, have fun.
Have a good
See you
drink.
then. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.